Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of the Zachary Thayer Storyteller podcast. This is a podcast where I tell stories from my life and the lives of the people I care about. And in this episode, I have something very special that I'm excited to share with you all. It's an interview I did with my friend Cohl Callies. Cohl Callies, he was a student of the youth group that I volunteer with, Uncommon Student Ministries, but now he has graduated high school. He has just recently started college, and he's now serving as a youth leader with me, and it's just been cool to see him grow up. And in this episode, during this interview, I get to hear bits of his life story about how he grew up and how he discovered ultimately his purpose and his calling for his life. And this conversation was really cool for me because I got to learn things about my friend that I didn't even know. So I'm excited to share this with you all. Hope you enjoy. And Cohl, how about you just introduce yourself to the people, kind of give them an idea of who you are and why you matter on this planet.
Okay, hi, my name is Cohl. I am just, a guy that lives in a small town that loves life and loves Jesus, and I'm now a great part of my church now, Cornerstone, and I'm proud to be a great part of it. And I just want to, the reason why I think I can matter in life is because I really want to be a leader and be someone that the kids of my youth group can look up to.
Mm-hmm. And all that stuff that you kind of just talked about is really what I want this episode to be focused on, because something that's been key to my life story as well as yours has been Uncommon Student Ministries, has been this church, Cornerstone Church. And I kind of just want to reflect both on our experiences with this community as well as with our relationships with God. So and there's going to be some questions I'm going to be asking you today that I don't even really know the answers to. So What was, at least for you, what was your first experience with religion and God pre-Cornerstone, pre-Uncommon?
Okay, so I just remember growing up in the church, and I went to a church down the street first, and it was Lutheran. And I just remember always being so bored and so tired. I would always ask Mom, hey, can I go to bed, please? Because I did not want to wake up so early in the morning.
Like, this is you as a little kid saying this.
As like a little kid towards like 5th grade, I want to say. Yeah, like towards 5th grade, like just so bored, so tired, not paying attention to anything, getting weirded out by everyone standing up singing hymns all the time, and just not really knowing what's going on. I still like believed in God, but I didn't know. That's all I knew. Like nothing deeper than that.
What was your concept of God at that age, would you say?
It's like, I'd say it's kind of like God is there, and that was it. Like literally, I didn't pay attention or know anything else. So that age.
So you knew God was around, but you didn't know.
I didn't know that he was like
any attributes to him, like personality or what he did, just that he existed.
None. Yes, I knew of some of the stories, of course, and I'm like,
from the Bible.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, that's a cool story. I like this story. David just killed a guy. I like it. I mean,
that's sick.
That's so cool.
He cut off a dude's head.
Like that's all I knew then. And then after that, I can't remember the reason why, but we moved to another church, way out in Alton. We moved out there. That was another Assemblies of God church. And so we were just there for a little while, and from there I started to get a better understanding and started to dive a little deeper and figure out what this was all about. But I still wasn't completely serious about it. I would kind of push it off and just not care. It was just more like that's a Sunday chore, pretty much. That's whenever it turned into like a chore.
Did your parents make you go any other time of the week or attend any other events, or just Sunday mornings?
But for all of us, it was just Sunday mornings. We went there, and there were times I'm like, Mom, can I please not go today? And sometimes she would let me go, or she would let me stay home. And that's pretty much how it went my entire time there. And then we moved from there pretty much because of me. From I say that isn't.
It's your fault.
No, we were there, and all of us weren't really feeling it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like.
How old are you at this point?
At this point, gosh, I want to say I'm 14.
14. Okay.
At this point, we've been there.
So
for
that's not
quite a
too
few
long
years.
ago.
Yeah, this is towards. Well, I was really feeling this quite a few years before I first came here.
Yeah.
And so then just from there, and I want to say during all this time, I was sporadically coming to youth here. I was asked by friends to come here, and that was the first time I was introduced to a youth group.
And
I never went
Sunday
to any other.
You didn't go to youth group at any other church?
No, I went to Sunday school for the Lutheran church, but I didn't go to youth group at any of those. So then I was introduced to it here. I was around here whenever it was Area 58, right?
That was before my time, but yeah, that was a thing back in the day.
Like a really long time ago, whenever Phil was the youth pastor. And I got out of it, and then let's flash forward back to me not really feeling it with this previous church.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was invited to Uncommon for NER 4, and
that was probably 2016.
Yeah, that was around 2016 or so. And so that's just the first memory that I have of Uncommon. And from there on, I wasn't completely hooked, but it was just I slowly would come into Uncommon.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So what was it that separated Uncommon from your previous church experiences?
It was just the love that I felt, and feeling welcome and feeling like I'm part of a family, because it was more than just Uncommon. It was the entire church. And that's whenever I explained that to my mom and my dad, and my mom was all about completely agree with me that the other churches, we didn't really feel welcome, we didn't feel a part of it, we felt like the outcast. And so after her seeing me so involved with the youth, she then agreed to come to a Sunday service. And from there on, the rest is history, still in the making.
So you pretty much have grown up around the idea of God and the idea of church your whole life, but you were never sold on either of those, because now you're growing in your relationship with God. What was it about your experience here that sold you on the idea of, oh, this is who God is, and I want to have a relationship with him and pursue him? What was how did that process come about?
So there's two ways I can answer that. So whenever I first committed my life to Christ, it was at the first camp that we were at. Just every time I would come here before then, it would I wasn't serious about it. I still knew him, knew about him. I learned more about him, but I didn't I've never felt his presence, never felt him speaking to me or anything like that in prayer or anything. I wasn't so serious about reading my Bible and praying every day. And then I just remember something happening within me at my first year at camp, and he spoke to me and said, all right, you need to, you're going to give your life up to me right now. This is how we're going to go. And so I did then, and that was whenever I first committed my life to him. From there on, he just lit a fire in my heart ever since, just to keep reading my Bible, keep praying, and keep going after him. And it wasn't until Immerse first started, because I'm pretty sure Immerse was after.
Yeah, that might have been. I would have to look into our social media to see when the very first Immerse was, but I know that was probably an idea that was birthed post Camp 2016.
Yes.
So for just to give context to everyone listening and watching, Immerse is our Bible study that our youth group does. And the vision behind Immerse was both to discover who the real leaders were and kind of use that as leadership development, but most importantly, it was to get teenagers into the Word of God, because youth group can famously be mistaken as just a fun time and then like a quick little 10-minute Bible lesson at the end. And Pastor Chris's vision behind Immerse was, we're not going to have there's no entertainment value behind Immerse. We're not going to be playing any games. There's not going to be any fun jumping up and down songs. It's just, we're coming in here and we're going to study the Bible. And really it was that's pretty much like the kids that show up to just a Bible study. That's how you know who's truly sold on this. That's how you figure out who your core is.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we don't know where every single one of those kids is at in their relationship with God, but it was through Immerse that Pastor Chris could know it's like, all right, we're going to make these kids Bible literate. Because that was a huge thing that's a huge thing that people in church circles are worried about, is the biblical illiteracy of our generation. And so this was a solution to that. So that was your way. It was between camp and Immerse that you're like, okay, I'm understanding the heart of the gospel and what this is all about.
No, it was after Immerse that I was understanding. Because
Okay.
it was between camp and Immerse that I was the baby Christian, not knowing where to go, how to do it. And so I was just like kind of lost where to start in the Bible, all that. I was jumping around all over the place. And then Chris spoke about Immerse, bringing that in. And from there on, I just started to understand more. We started in Romans too, so it's like really deep stuff starting off.
Yeah, it's really deep, but it's also one of those books of the Bible that explains the whole thing. Like, it's like a very good, this is what Christianity is all about book of the Bible.
Yeah. And just from there on out, kept going to Immerse, understanding more, just kept living my life more and more for Christ ever since then.
So what would you say, like, how would you describe your old life and then compare it to your new life? Like, what would you say, summarize your old life and summarize your new life, like how things have changed?
Well, my old life, I would say I was very, it was looking back at it now, I say it's very boring because I would just sit around and do nothing all the time, play video games, just go to school, go through the motions of life and everything. And I would also be very anxious and self-conscious about myself. That was another thing. Like, my self-esteem was very low because
Really?
The reason why is because I was the quiet kid back then, which is completely different than what I am now. Like, I was so quiet. I would just sit in class, would never raise my hand, would never answer. I mean, that's something I still do now, but still, like, back then it was just so bad. And I would just listen. And whenever I would listen to things that people would say about other people, it would always make me scared to say something, because I feel like if I were to say something a certain way, they would start to do the same thing about me and talk about me behind my back.
So if you saw like kids talking behind other people's backs or gossiping or bullying, that would touch you and you're like, this isn't right, but you didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And so how's your life now? Now that you've met Christ through Uncommon and through Cornerstone Church?
Now I have become way more involved with a lot of other things. I'm no longer always sitting down playing video games. I'm going around building relationships with people now, being more outgoing in ways that I never thought would be possible for me. I have been told that I am full of wisdom lately, because like there's one moment over this past year. I was part of this FCA student board, and I was still very quiet that entire
Yeah.
time because it's new people. I still have a bit of that anxiety in me, and I'm just like not fully understanding how to go about that. And it wasn't towards the very last meeting that we had where we all go around and we say like the nicest things about people, like we compliment each other. And so it got to my turn, and people would say that although you are a man of few words and you don't speak all the time, we can tell that you are processing, that you are listening, that you are here, and that you are listening. And every time that you do open your mouth to speak, it is mind-blowing. Like, it's just some wisdom that they think is so cool to hear. And so I would like to just say now I'm just blessed with that gift, and just really been full of God and Christ, and I've been able to share that with other people in my life, my other friends and family, and just kind of just be someone that they can turn to now.
So it seems that your relationship with Christ has caused you to want to love others more as well.
Yes.
And make you more confident in yourself.
Yes.
Why? What is it about Christ that has caused you to become those things?
It's just the constant repetition of hearing, I am beautifully and wonderfully made. I am God's masterpiece. What can mere mortals do to me with the power of Christ? Like, just knowing that God's with me right now. He was with me. He's going to be with me. Just that gives me confidence now. And just recently, I've been able to fully, I've been putting more faith in him.
Yeah.
And just acting out in faith more, and just seeing the result in that. And that's giving me even more confidence, because God's not going to tell you to do something and it, completely destroy you in a way.
Yeah.
He's got you in everything.
That's cool. So basically what it all comes down to is you found your identity in Christ, and that has been your foundation for everything, and that has propelled you with living for a mission and living for others, and to really make the world a better place anywhere you go.
Yeah.
So let's go into, because this is the heart behind this episode, really, Cohl, that these kinds of thoughts that have been, because, just for everyone listening, this has been something I've been wanting to do for a while. And originally it was to do camp stories, but then I was like, we could talk about camp, but I think there's something deeper here, and I think we're hitting it. Something that I'm passionate about is people's callings and finding a purpose for their life. And I know that recently, as of this summer, you have found your calling, you believe that you have anyway. And so I kind of want to talk about that. So kind of tell us the story behind that.
Okay. So this actually goes back a few years.
Does it? Okay.
Yes. Excuse me. I can't remember how long ago. I think this was like a year and a half ago. I've been here for 2 years now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is like a year and a half ago.
2-ish years, yeah.
After camp, my first camp. It's so hard to think like that because I've gone to 3 camps already.
Yeah, and they all kind of roll into one. Like, I know from my personal experience, sometimes when I think about camps, I have a hard time thinking like, okay, did this memory or this moment happen at this year or what year? Like, yeah. I always need other people's help.
Especially with this past year having 5 camps.
Yes.
Between the 2 of us.
Mm-hmm.
But so it was after my first camp.
Mm-hmm.
I come back, and I can't remember how exactly it built up to this moment, but I was with my ex-girlfriend, and she's been going through some rough times with her family and just struggling with a lot of stuff. And so...
And you're still friends with her, to this day, right?
Yes, I'm still friends with her to this day.
So you're talking with her about, all the things that she's dealing with.
I mean, it was after I think this one was actually after the first time that I spoke in front of everyone. My first sermon that I did in front of everyone.
Last year?
No, it wasn't last year. It was after my first camp. I know that.
Okay.
After that,
I do remember that.
And I did my first one over basically taking like cross country and
yes, I remember
talking
that.
about how like that's
running the race for
running
Christ.
The race for Christ, pretty much. And so she said, and of course I was so nervous after that. I was trying to figure out.
I remember. So I'm gonna kind of talk about it from my perspective. I just remember because Pastor Chris. No, I'm not gonna. It's not bad.
Trash me.
It's not bad. I'm not gonna trash you. Because I mean, heck, I was nervous when the first time I preached. But heck, I still do. But I remember Pastor Chris telling me like, "Yep, Cole's gonna speak," and he was telling me about how humble you were about it. You're like, I'm not trying to take your job or anything. I
do remember that.
I just feel led to say this thing. And Chris was like, go for it. Like, this is what I want. And so you're up there and you have your notes of things that you're going to say. And you're just like looking at it the whole time. And
it was so
yeah, but I mean,
I just remember Chris coming up afterwards saying it's not as easy as it looks. He's
like, yeah, people talking crap on me. So you do it. So so you're talking to.
So I'm talking to
she who must not be named
girlfriend. After that, and she just don't laugh.
I'm not laughing.
You're giggling. And so she told me that what I talked about and how I talked about it was awesome. It was amazing because she was crying and she was sitting around other people that were crying, and little old me that's never done that before in my life, I'm like, what, I made people cry?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Like,
and it's always cool when, because I mean, it'd be very easy to critique you like, yeah, well, you were nervous and you're looking at your notes all the time or whatever, but God still used you.
Yeah.
Like, despite our human inability to do things in a precise way, that doesn't mean that God can't still use it to affect people.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw that demonstrated through your first sermon. So you're talking to her about that.
True. Yeah.
And what came about that conversation?
She just brought up the fact that she thinks that I could be a great youth pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she can see me doing that.
Yeah.
And then she also brought up saying, I could even see you being the new next DYD or something like that. I'm like, okay. But
all right, let's
slow down here. I'm like 14, 15 here. So
you're going to be in charge of all the youth pastors.
So I was like, okay, youth pastor, that sounds pretty cool. And so I say that's my calling. I'm thinking, okay, that's my calling because someone said that I would be good at it.
It's somebody that you're friends with, yeah.
And someone that I'm friends with. And so I say that's my calling. And the entire time I'm struggling thinking, is this really my calling? Is this what a calling should be like? Because I'd never experienced the calling or anything like that before. And I'm just so uncertain about it. But I'm still chugging through like until next year. For 1 year, I have it. Into my junior year, I'm saying, okay, youth pastor, backup plan, chemical engineer. So the reason why is because my dad would say, hey, you know that youth pastors, like, it's not a job that can make you a lot of money. So
yes.
And he wants me to be super successful and making a lot of money. And so I'm like, okay, chemical engineer, I'll do that. And then just over time, chemical engineer started to take over my decision to be a youth pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was chemical engineer, and then changing to chemist because apparently chemical engineer wasn't what I was thinking it was all about. So I'm like, all right, chemist sounds more like what I.
And then it became media for a little bit.
And it became media because I started getting into media, and that was a
started
huge
hanging
passion
around.
of mine.
You started hanging around me a lot.
Yes, and so I was like,
Look,
this is fun. Being a freelancer, Zach gets to stay at home and do nothing and go do whatever he wants. Like,
he lives with his mom and brother, and he doesn't have a life. That's who I want to admire. That's who I want to model my life after.
But no, seriously, like, I see what you're doing, and I see that you love it, and it's a passion of yours, and media was a passion of mine. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's a good start. It's a passion, and I'm good at it. Like, at least I think I'm good at it. I mean, because I just know that a calling is more towards something that you're good at and you're passionate about. Like, it's kind of like mixes. And then 4 weeks of camp came around. 3 of those weeks I was media.
2018.
Yes, this is 2018 right here. 4 weeks of that being media, and I was burnt out by week 2.
Really?
I was pretty burnt out.
We've never talked about this, so that's really fascinating.
I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty darn burnt out, and I just thought, you know what? I don't know what I'm gonna do because I got my college and my major planned out. Like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
So what was it that made you be like, I don't know if this is for me?
Before camp, I was praying because it was after I was with Chris and Julius for like a trip that we took out.
Yeah.
And
up to the Quad Cities.
Yes, the Quad Cities. And then on the way back, Chris and I had this conversation, and it just hit me on the way back of, man, there's still something in me that I haven't figured out yet. Like, there's something in me that could determine my future here, and I haven't figured that out yet. And so I just kept praying for a few weeks before camp season, and I heard God audibly speak to me twice in just one word, both times. Well, first time he said a name, and that was Eric, and the reason why was because I was so confused on where to turn, because other opportunities were coming up that were from the past, and things were just resurfacing. I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? What am I going to do?
Like, you had all these possibilities opening up of things that you could do after high school. And
yes.
You're like, crap, I don't know what to do with my life.
And it was like a second time of him coming up. Because, like, for example, I wanted to go to visit North Central before I picked Greenville. And then it just started to resurface on the trip back, and I'm thinking, and it got me thinking even more about it. So I'm like, oh darn, what is this? And so, luckily, whenever I got back, I had a lunch scheduled with Eric, just to get to know
Eric
him
Scottberg,
better.
our senior pastor.
Senior pastor, yes. And so, as I'm praying that night, God just speaks to me and says, Eric. So I'm like, okay, I'll bring this up to Eric tomorrow. And so I did.
About the whole idea of not knowing what to do.
Yeah, so just being so confused and so lost right here.
And so what did Pastor Eric speak into your life?
He just said, I cannot remember it. I'm not good at remembering things. But the big takeaway I got from that was to just slow down. You don't have to worry about it right now, because you don't have to rush it all. Yeah. Slow down, pray about it, and just speak to God about this. And like, who knows, maybe you're good going to Greenville, you're good doing what you're doing, or you already have planned. Just keep praying, rely on God. And so I did. And then I kept praying, and God spoke to me saying camp. And so from there, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be going to all 4 weeks of camp. When is this going to happen?
So when's it going to happen?
And you got to put into account, there's 2 weeks of kids camp, then a 2-week break, and then 2 weeks of teen camp. So a total of 6 weeks where I could be completely lost, and I don't know what to do. So I'm thinking, okay, this will be a good thing to do, because I'll dabble my feet in media for the first 2 weeks of kids camp, and then I'll be a counselor for the last week. And it was towards like the first week of kids camp that I'm feeling in me like some leadership role is starting to come. That thing that I was looking for and trying to find inside myself, a leadership, like the role of leadership just kept coming up. And so this leads into, okay, I've got many other things. There's more, a lot of stuff coming up. Okay. Forewarning right here. So first week of kids camp, I have a lot of fun with media, and it's fun. I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
media's good. I'm good with the path that I'm going right now. And then the last night, the last full day into the night, into the last like half a day, like Thursday through Friday, I'm asked to be a counselor for
I
this
remember
group
that.
of kids.
So we were doing video during Kids Camp Week 1 together, and then you had to bail because a counselor left camp.
Yes, left early.
Yeah, and you had to take over. And so tell us about that experience, because I know that it was crazy for you.
It was absolutely insane because it wasn't until the guy was about to leave. Like we're in like a transition kind of phase, like a 2-hour transition phase where we're like dual counseling, and
the
I'm
kids
getting to
are
know
getting
the
warmed up
kids,
to
and
you.
the kids are getting warmed up to me. Luckily, it worked pretty fast because I found out that out of 9 kids, most of them had ADHD. One of them had a severe case of ADHD. One of them had severe anger issues. All of them would fight, and at least 2 of them were foster kids.
Yeah.
And so
it's just a hot mess of 10 kids, and they're all on your own, and you got to hang on to them for one night.
For a night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so I was thinking, and I was also told that they can be rude, they can be a little rowdy or something. Okay, it's just a normal group of kids, can be a little rowdy. I can do this. And then little did I know, like literally an hour before the guy is about to leave, I'm told by the dean for that week, what you have is the roughest group of kids on on campus.
That is awesome. So
so I just want to say I have a story about that. As I'm going through the night, and I'm trying,
like it's bedtime.
It's not. No, sorry. Towards the evening, we're getting ready to go to the evening service.
Okay.
And these kids are really luckily the dean said, hey, if you ever need us, just call us in for backup or whatever. Or if you feel like you can't do this, just
like they empathize with your situation.
And if
they knew that you were young and that it's a rough group of kids and it's a crappy situation, they have to get them all of a sudden. So they're like, hey, we're here if you need anything.
Exactly. And so we're in the activity center as we're about to go into the evening service, and the kid with severe ADHD loses it. Like he has a breakdown, and he goes into one of the rooms, yells at everyone else to get out. I don't know what to do. Another counselor came up and said, hey, I'm a teacher for these type of kids. Let me see what I can do. They don't know what to do. It went crazy. Other kids are running around. I'm on the verge of tears. I've never been so close to crying in public.
It's the worst night of my life.
Like it was so crazy. And so I'm texting Christina, like, I can't do this. You need to get me out of this. Help me. And so the deans come over.
Been there.
The deans come.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hashtag white team.
Yes.
2015.
And so the deans come over, and there's 2 of them. Luckily, the main dean was like big, buff, and kind of he was black, and so he's
Who
like,
was it?
Oh my gosh.
It was Kids Camp?
I cannot remember.
I can't think of who it would have been either.
He was. I know he was helping us in the beginning set up those the little glasses boards on the stage. I think you were there.
Yeah.
Helping too.
We'll figure it out.
I'll try to figure that out later.
It doesn't matter. Anyway.
But he got everyone in a line, told them off, said, hey, Cole's your new counselor now. You have to listen to him. And basically, like, got on to them for everything. So for the rest of the night leading up to the evening service, they were decent. They listened to me. They followed me. Our relationship was still good at that point, likely between all the kids. And he also said I can have a co-counselor help me. Like he said, this is the first time ever that we're having 2 counselors for you guys. Like, be happy with that, like that kind of thing. And so we go through the evening service, and the kid with severe ADHD was acting up again because he was playing with some finger lights, and he was told to put him away. And so he started going off saying like, oh, I thought this was a Christian camp. Like, I should be able to do whatever the heck I want and be able to do this kind of thing. And so he just started freaking out. He started bringing up some family problems. I don't even know how it happened, but he just started freaking out and everything. And so all I could do in that moment, this was towards the end too, like during the prayer time. And all I did was I prayed and cried over him. First time, like I was audibly sobbing and weeping and doing all that kind of like over someone as I'm praying out loud for them. And I just remember at the end when everything was over, he looked at me and he asked, "Were you crying over me?" And so I said yes. And I gave him a hug and said, I was crying and praying over you. I was fighting for you. And he was in such a much better mood after that for the rest of the night. In fact, this kid is deathly afraid of ants. And whenever we go, at least this is a big thing for me and him. And as we go outside, I'm talking with some of the other kids. And he's like, Cohl. I'm like, what? I just killed an ant. I'm like, what, you did? He's like, yeah, I just killed it without even thinking about it. Like, that was such a big deal for him. And even some of the other kids who are also afraid of ants were like, wow, you did that? That's awesome.
Like, whoa.
Like, it was so cool.
Watch out, everyone.
Like, it's just so cool because he was deathly afraid of ants, and he overcame his fear to step on another ant.
Yeah.
And like that just made my night. And so the other guy helped me get him into bed that night. I wanted to split up and take that kid to get some medicine as well. So I took him to get some medicine, left the other guy in there to take care of the other 8 kids. And we have a good time waiting in the line for medicine. You know, we're having fun. He's climbing up on me. He's on my shoulders, doing like a monkey, pretty much. And we get back to the room. It's chaos.
Like,
utter chaos.
We have this peaceful and serene scene, and then it completely ends in devastation.
And so I thank the guy for helping me and getting him back in the bed. I say he can go. I'll take care of this. Because I'm not now at this point. I'm like, I'm pretty confident. I'm like, yeah, I can take care of this. And it went pretty well. It really went well. I bribed them. I said, hey, if you guys are quiet and we get through the night, in the morning, I'll wake you all up individually and we can play Fortnite. Because these kids were crazy. Like, all the kids at Kids Camp week 1 were crazy about Fortnite.
Yes, they were.
And so I have my phone and my Switch. And luckily, that was the week that Fortnite was released
came out on the Switch.
That exact week. And so...
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God, for Fortnite. There we go. That's the only time I'll ever say it.
It's the only time Fortnite was used for good.
And so they got to bed quickly and quietly. I got everyone up. Everyone got to play Fortnite. And they were happy in the morning. A lot of bumps and bruises along the way of getting through breakfast and to the buses. But the 2 things happened after that. The kid with severe ADHD came up to me and he asked me, hey, can you come home with me?
Aw.
And so I'm saying, no, I can't.
That's rough.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, I really don't want to, because I don't want to, I it's just, it was so stressful for me, and I just feel like I would lose it, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just cool, I thought, to see that I was able to impact his life in one night like that.
So what was it about that experience that contributed to you discovering your calling?
Then I was like, just from seeing how the relationship I had with, it wasn't with that kid though. That's the other thing. Like, it was multiple kids. There's another kid that really grew on me, that really liked me, and the kid was severe anger issues. I didn't really connect with him that much, but I guess I said something to him to where at the end I would go up to him and he literally came up to me, looked at me, and gave me a hug without any words. I'm just saying, I was like, hey, don't listen to what other people say about you. Like, people were always picking on this kid. That's why he was very angry all the time. And so, like, you're beautiful in God's eyes. I know that you're a Christian and that you believe in this stuff. Trust in God. He will be there for you. And so he just gave me a hug after that. And just the fact that all those kids were impacted by me in one night really just stood out to me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, am I called into like something to do with kids ministry or something like that? And immediately I'm like, no, because it was so stressful for me. I know that I wouldn't last long. Like,
Yeah.
knowing myself, I would not last long at all in that. And then that was like, that started everything. I was like, the beginning. Week 2 comes around
Of teen camp.
of kids
kids
camp.
Okay.
And so I'm all on my own here. And I am tasked with doing 1-2 kids all on my own.
Yeah.
All by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Editing, videoing.
Yeah, I wasn't the main video guy for kids camp week 2.
You weren't there at all.
Yeah,
they
had somebody else, and then like at kids camp, there's 2 camps going on really. When me and you were doing it together, we combined the 2 camps into one video. And during week 2 kids, the other guys, they're like, okay, we'll dominate 3-6 camp, but you can do 1-2 camp on your own.
I had the responsibility of 1-2 camp and service.
How'd that go?
It was just, that was also very stressful for me. Like, not really super stressful. Like,
yeah, but it burnt you out on media.
It burnt me out on media because I was running all over the place. I had to be at certain areas at certain times, and it was just me behind a camera all week long and behind a screen.
Yeah,
and I was also alone in that setting too. Like yeah, I was able to joke around a little bit with the other team, but because it's new people and that's like I can't really, like, I'm not good at warming up super duper fast.
And you were both doing your own thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to connect when you have completely separate lives, really.
Mm-hmm. And so then from there on out, for the next 2 weeks before teen camp, I know that media is not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something to do with leadership. And so
leadership mentoring,
something like that. And then week 3, teen camp. Week 1, more of just a fun week. It was just like
doing media with me and Jacob.
Just building relationships that week too, especially. Yeah.
I mean, camp is really good about building relationships.
Oh no, never mind. That was also the week I received the calling. Yeah, that's right.
Teen camp week Wednesday. 1 was?
Yeah, Wednesday teen camp week 1.
So you weren't even really...
I was not even a camper. I was on the media team when I received my calling.
And you and Jacob, I would send you guys to sit in the services while I finished the video. Yes. And so you received the calling during one of those services. So tell us about that experience.
It was at the very end of service, and I'm
Which
up
night?
there Wednesday night.
Okay.
And it was Holy Spirit night.
That's a stereotype, unfortunately.
And I'm up there still just praying my heart out about what my calling could be, because at this point I know that it's youth ministry, but I'm not accepting it because I just...
How did you know?
It was just seeing the kids, I think, was what made me know.
During camp.
All weeks of camp, seeing the kids. Just seeing kids worship and go after God. And I'm not picturing Chris always says, if you're doing it just to be up on a stage, you're not going to last long at all.
Right.
I would never, I would picture myself up on a stage, seeing it, but I would just only see the kids. I wouldn't see me on the stage or anything like that. That's what made me realize that this is for me, because I'm looking at the kids and I'm like, wow, I would just love to just help those kids and, be that person that can lead them there, because I know that I have the ability to be a leader. So I want to be able to do that for these kids.
You want to be in the trenches with them, living life with them and helping them through whatever battles that they're going through.
And Chris was, that Wednesday night, Chris was praying over everyone. And he was talking about future leaders and future youth leaders. I think it was either Chris or Pastor Joey during that time.
You can't
P.
remember
Joey.
who.
But because they were both praying over the same thing,
Sure.
like asking for, or praying, like, I pray that leaders will come up out of these, that people will be called into ministry, called into missions, that our, like, whenever he said our replacements come out of these groups of children, that's when it hit me, especially since Chris just left.
Yeah. So
And I'm like,
to
dang.
give a little bit of context to everyone, Pastor Chris, the student ministries director for the Illinois Assemblies of God, he was our youth pastor, and he stepped up to this leadership position a few months ago. And that has kind of created this atmosphere of like, okay, we need to fill in this gap to keep the army together until we have a new general. And so that pressure had already been on you a little bit, just because,
especially because his last words to me at like his going away party were like, he gave me a hug and he said, "These kids need a leader." That's what he like said that to me, implying that it's gonna be me.
Yeah,
like,
or you're gonna be a leader.
like
yeah.
a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and you're like, crap.
like, dang it, Chris.
And
no,
so
you're right.
and so then during that service, he's talking about our replacements, and then that line just hit you.
That hit me hard, and I'm like, okay, I know, God, that this is it. Then week 4 overall, week 2 of teen camp.
I was the camp coordinator for our youth group. You were a counselor,
and you were also the main video guy for that week. So I was
by myself.
By yourself, I know. Yeah. And
it was good. It was just hectic.
We did not have anyone to be counselors for the guys' side.
We had to do.
So it had to be
Jake.
Like, I offered to do it, and Jake
and Zach Sunderland,
which is pretty darn cool.
I know. Now that Jake's gonna come in, in a couple weeks.
And that week just solidified the calling, because I was able to connect with the kids I was already with.
Well, that week put you, okay, this is what it's like being a youth pastor, because you were no longer the video guy with a degree of separation. You were with them 24/7 during that week camp, and that was like, this is what I want to do. I love being with them throughout the day, having fun with them, and being with them during the altars and all that.
And being with them spiritually.
Yeah.
Because even during the times that I was like, Jeff during that week would call the leaders to get up and be someone that they can go to for prayer. Like, I would just love doing that. And so that pretty much wraps it up for my 6 week span of figuring out my calling this past summer and changing my entire life.
So what was when you finally came to that conclusion, like, because really looking at your other possibilities, you were only thinking a chemical engineer or a chemist just because, like,
it made money.
And you had good grades.
Like, I had interest in chemistry. I was making good grades, and it made money. And so that's
and then the media stuff,
it was more like I was
cool.
Good at it. It's cool.
And you hang out with me a lot.
Yeah, and it seemed it just seemed fun to freelance and do nothing at home.
That's not true. But
okay. I'm not dissing you. I'm sorry.
I know. It's okay. It's fine. I'm just gonna go cry later.
Okay.
And then, but really, so you landed on youth ministry, and it's so funny. I remember before you met up with Pastor Eric at the beginning of summer, he came up to me and he's telling me about it. So he's like, "So is this kid called the ministry or what?"
I know, that's the other thing. Like, whenever
everyone knew, yes,
except for me. I'm like, how did you guys know? I don't understand.
And the reason, want to know why we knew?
Why?
Because we could see it demonstrated in your life. Just the way that you naturally were with other students and with other leaders who are in ministry, you just naturally belonged in. Yes, you're young. Yes, you have growing to do, but you just had all the signs of like, this is what this kid's made for. So what was the community, both your family and your friends, what was your community's reaction?
My friends I have like 3 friends that like I can call like three true friends that I can call friends.
Like your age.
Like I want to say outside of
uncommon. Okay.
So I'm looking at more like this like secular kind of thing.
Okay.
And so they were for it. They were for me doing that.
They're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see that. Family, because like the reason why I'm splitting my friends up like that is because all my friends in Uncommon were definitely for it, and like they were super excited for it.
Because
I've been with them for so long, and
you've been
like they even knew. Like,
yeah,
that's the
and I mean,
thing.
and you're not the, it's not like you call the shots in our youth group, but I mean, you are an influential person in the youth group, and so everyone who's with you all the time here, like they could see that. What about your family?
My family, my mom supports me. She really does. She supports it. She thinks that it's awesome. It's just right now, it took a little bit to convince her to let me go to North Central because it's a lot more expensive than going to Lewis and Clark right now.
Yep. Which is our local community college.
Yes. And my dad, I mean, I'd say overall, like he's okay with it.
Yeah.
But of course, by the first impression, like he wasn't super happy with it.
Well, I think it's just like I don't think it comes out of a place of love and concern.
Yeah.
Because they're worried about your ability to provide for yourself, and if you ever get married, being able to provide for your kids and family and your wife. I've received that with, the lifestyle that I've lived, being a freelancer, and it's like, I chose the freelance video life and the ministry life, two things that don't compute to a ton of money.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been that strong just because I grew up in a ministry home, but I mean, you feel that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I totally get where that concern's coming from, but it comes out of a place of love.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely been positive, I think, for you.
It's mostly been positive, yeah. But it was just kind of a rough start with my family. Mom smoother than my dad, but but
kind of rough. No growth to it.
My sister's all for it because I get to move away like 8 hours. So
yes, he's finally out of the house.
She's like, move now. You don't have to stay at Lewis and Clark. You can go now. Go. And
that's funny.
Another thing. The reason why I'm going to Lewis and Clark now is because I felt a strong calling to stay here to help out with the transition at Uncommon. And I know that's going to happen. Well, like I know that there's a reason why I'm here, and because God's been speaking to me more and more lately these past few weeks, and I can, especially now with Jake coming in and him having some of the same views and
the same heart
as me. Yes, like I think it's going to go pretty well.
Yeah. And I believe that it's important for you to be here, even if it's just for a semester, because it's going to give you that practical ministry experience before you go to school. Because this comes with any major, whether it's a business major or a film major or a nursing major, or probably not with nursing so much, but really with any degree that you could get, is you have all these kids graduating, and unless they intentionally look for real world experience, they don't get it at school. College can be good for many things. It's good giving you that credibility, like, hey, I got a bachelor's degree. And there's some people that's like, we're not going to give you this job unless you have a degree. And if you go to a school that's famous in your industry, that can give you credibility. Like I know for the Assemblies of God, me having a degree from Assemblies of God University, that gives me credibility in this community. But if all you did, Cohl, was go to a 4-year degree, get a degree or go to a 4-year school, you get a degree in biblical studies or church leadership or youth ministry or whatever, but you didn't serve at a youth group at all, you would be in a world of hurt during your first youth group, if you could even get a job, period. But if you going into school with a semester of being heavily involved at a church, that's going to set you up better to get plugged into another church while you're at school. And all that experience combined will set you up for success at whatever future youth ministry that you take control of in the future.
Yeah.
I said the word future twice in that sentence, so that's how great of a public speaker I am.
I gotta say, something that like really helped me out so far, experience-wise, was the time that I actually had to basically be the youth pastor for one Wednesday service. Remember,
Yeah, so there was this one Wednesday night where me and Pastor Kermit, it was first on me kind of being the interim youth pastor, but when I had 3 weeks of video coming up, I knew I couldn't do that on my own. And once I discovered that youth ministry wasn't my thing, you've been with me on that journey as well. Once I discovered that wasn't really my thing, I became burnt out on this. That's why I think it's kind of ironic that
I just realized,
we both had hearts for media and youth ministry. You got burnt out on the media part and fell in love with youth ministry. I got burnt out on the youth ministry part and fell in love with media. Both of those things are important in our lives, but just we have different hearts that came out in the end. Oh my gosh. And so me and Kermit were like, you know what? These kids, like, they have all these things that they're wanting to do. They're like, fine, go do them. We're just, and it wasn't out of a place of hatred or bitterness. It was like,
it was because like you were out that week, Kermit was out that week.
Yeah, and we're like, and you got an idea of what you want to do, go do it.
Like it started as like Kermit came to me and said, hey, would you mind speaking a little bit tonight, because we just got done with camp. I just had this surgery, and was it surgery or something to do?
Something.
It was something.
But
to do
either way,
he was out.
It was multiple students spoke that night, and then you closed it.
Yes.
And so what was it about that night that hit you?
That hit me, like good or bad, because there was both. Like I got to see both sides.
Both.
So basically, I took it into my own hands, because I was just asked to do something small with it. Like, would you mind speaking about camp? So basically, kind of like a testimony.
Sure.
Just me. I was asked to do that, and I just took it into my own hands a little bit. And he said, "It's your baby tonight. You do what you want." So I got together some other kids that I thought it'd be cool to do like a testimony after doing a few worship songs. Then I get up and I speak like a mini short sermon, and then we get into like a time of prayer and just end it out that way and with worship. So I was actually able to reside over the worship songs and help out with that. Put together the game that we also did that night, because we had new people coming in, and also put together my own sermon and plan how it's going to go throughout the night. So I was able to be in that leadership role of literally planning out an entire Wednesday night service. And even though it was stressful for me, because I was also struggling with doing some college stuff that day, which really threw me off.
Yep.
At the very end, it was so worth it, because one person went up there to give a testimony who's never given a testimony before.
Yep. Someone who's very shy. Totally out of their element.
Completely out of their element to get up there and speak. And just ever since then, they've been thanking me for it and like saying like that, like I never thought I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
And they were so nervous before. And I just kept telling them, like, God's with you. God will help you through this. God will lead you through this. If he wants to speak through you, he's going to do it in the right way. And it went fantastic. The testimony was fantastic. In fact, it was so good that they were asked to go have an interview with someone that is hosting some kind of TV show.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. It was a relative of theirs
that
was doing it. And so they were asked to go on, not live, but record something for a TV show. And sadly I wasn't able to be there for them because I had work that night. But they replied to me, or they didn't reply, they texted me later that night and said that it went awesome, that they killed it and it went great. So
Wow, that's cool.
it was so cool
So
to see that happen.
your night to shine became an opportunity for you to allow other people's light to shine.
Yeah. And
I think that's
that entire time I wasn't even worried about my light shining. I wanted my message to get across. And now that I think about it, I think I accidentally did what I was speaking about, because I spoke about unity, because that's something big on my heart lately. And
For
I
our youth
was
ministry.
able to bring together other kids in my youth ministry that don't really get up and speak that much. Like, I gave them the chance to do that, and they were able to do that for me. And so I think that's wow.
So
that's
what
pretty
did
cool.
So you said something bad happened that night too. What was?
Oh, the bad. I didn't think there's anything bad.
Or maybe not something
about
bad,
it. It was
but
just
like something that you learned that you're like, well, yeah,
I got to see
I
the
could do
super
this better
stressful parts and like
of youth ministry.
of youth ministry and planning it. And
which that's really good for you.
yes, like I thought it was really good for me
because that's
there.
like, now that you have a good dose of the reality of it.
Yes.
So you don't come into youth ministry with an unhealthy expectation.
Yes. And now, and what I think is even better is after that, I would do it again. And I don't think I would hate it. I don't think I would.
I don't think you
grow
would
out of
either.
it. And so now, because I told Chris about me being called in youth ministry, and he said he wants to speak with me and give me like those 5 questions to try to scare me out of youth ministry. I think I'm ready. I think I'm.
When's that conversation gonna happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
So we're gonna.
Wait, whenever it happens, we
figure it
should talk about it.
Yeah.
Off mic. As a buddy of mine who's a podcaster, and anytime he's, shout out to Jaron Myers of the They Don't Bite podcast. I doubt you're gonna listen to this, but anytime he talks, because he's friends with everybody that he interviews, like, and so he'll refer to, he's like, we've had a conversation off mic about this, or if they are touching something that's sensitive, he's like, we can talk about it off mic later. So we'll have this conversation off mic.
Yes.
We're gonna wrap it up a little bit with a few final questions, just kind of. So, Uncommon Student Ministry is this youth group of 50 to 70 kids that meets every Wednesday night, every Sunday night here in little old Bethalto, Illinois. It's really not that small compared to some small towns, but it definitely feels like a small town.
Oh yeah, it's technically a village,
but
so.
But it's been huge both in both of our lives. So what is uncommon to you? I think I know what you're gonna say, but
you think you know what I'm gonna say?
I do.
Know what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Uncommon to me. Gosh, dang, you put me on the spot now. Okay. It is a family that I want.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Okay, I feel better. It's a family that I want to bring together, almost.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is because I know that we can be better.
Sure. Like we're pretty united, but there's still
there's like we've definitely gotten better.
Yeah.
From what it
used
to be.
The past couple years, like it
was very segregated.
Yeah.
I remember, like, it was very segregated, and
I think
luckily,
I think 2017 camp, the year that we were on Purple Team and we won, I think that helped.
brought us. Yeah, that probably brought us together.
That brought us together in a huge way. I think the biggest thing that we have, and we have a solid core of our youth ministry. Like, I remember when I first started attending this church in 2015, the youth section of our Sunday morning service was like 5 kids.
Mm-hmm. And the core even has grown.
The core is like to 20 kids.
Yeah.
Where, we have a solid showing coming to Sunday night activities, which used to not even be a thing when I first came here. But the biggest thing that we can grow in is for all the kids that attend on Wednesday nights, but they're not in the core.
Yes.
Getting them into the core. And so it's like all the straggler kids, or the kids that, whether they show up every Wednesday night but to nothing else, or the kids that show up to the occasional Wednesday night,
Mm-hmm.
like get them all in the core.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see happen.
I want to see that happen, or at least start that
Yeah.
happening, because I have a short time. And sadly, like, that's something I've been wanting to do, but I've been like I wasn't as outgoing as I am now,
Yeah.
and like as comfortable with that stuff. So I missed out on my chance, because like with me being in, like,
Yeah.
I kind of missed out, but I do also I'm blessed to kind of work my way around it,
Yeah.
you know? And so I want to use this time to really go after that. And so I'm starting that with the War Room, which is our pre-service prayer room.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that unity can be formed on a foundation of prayer. And if we can get that going hardcore, like bigger than what it was whenever Chris was here. Because it was decently big when it first started, and then it kind of dwindled a little bit because it was just a few people. But then I'm really trying to get back
get the momentum back going
and get it to where it's like a habit.
Yeah, because if we're going to do anything big for the kingdom of heaven as it's represented in the River Bend area, it needs to start off in prayer.
Yes.
I absolutely, and that's now. I'm not going to front that hasn't been something that I've prioritized, but I recognize the folly in that, and I, partly thanks to you, I want to make that a priority again. So yeah, those are really your two goals right now as far as service at Uncommon, along with surviving college, which is kicking your butt right now, but you'll make it. It's growing pains. Okay, you're fresh off of, because senior year of high school,
especially fresh off of a great summer.
Yeah,
too.
Fresh off of a great summer, and especially the summer after senior year of high school, where you feel accomplished and finished, and
like
then
you
you're
feel
like
you're done, but really,
and you're really nope.
Nope, we got round 2.
And also senior year of high school, at least for me, and I think for most students, is the easiest year of high school.
Because that's the year that you can either go really slow with blow off classes.
You either get blow off classes, or even if you don't have blow off classes, you have senioritis and you just don't do anything either way. So either you don't have to do anything, or you do have to do stuff and you just don't do it. Senior year is really easy. Then you have a great summer. Then you're like, oh crap, college. But I think however long you're here, I'm excited for you to be here. Really my goal right now, because I think I came into Uncommon Student Ministries with the same, like, my identity is still the same as my original vision was, which was to be a big brother for students. And then, I know that not everybody views me that way just because they don't know me, but for the kids that do know me, like, I'm like a big brother figure. That was my original goal. There was a period where I thought I wanted to be a youth pastor, and then when Chris left, that was very influential in me discovering, like, this isn't what I want. But Uncommon Student Ministries has also been, like, that was like my first client for making videos. I didn't get paid for it, but it was just like, hey, you don't have anyone doing videos, I can do that. And so that has led me to getting a part-time job here at the church, to vlogging, to having a freelance career, to now me being the creative arts coordinator for Team Illinois. So, and I'm excited to continue being the big brother figure and serving under Jake Wiesman's youth pastorship. Just, he's been a good far away brother, and now he's going to be a next door neighbor, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, final question, and we'll wrap this bad boy up. So with everything that we have in mind, you kind of have given present goals. Do you have any lifetime goals for yourself, or at least future goals? Because, we talked about your goals for what you want to accomplish here at Uncommon, like having a foundation of prayer and making an impact on a micro level here. But have you made a vision for yourself? It's okay if you haven't. I'm just curious if you have.
I can think of 2 right now at the moment.
Okay. Let's hear.
First one would probably be to make my own youth ministry, like as a youth pastor, because
Like rather than going to one that's already established, like form one from scratch.
I mean, yeah, I would say form one from scratch if that's at all possible. Like go to, like not plant a church, but
Yeah.
like go to a church that doesn't have a youth
Yes.
pastor.
Yeah. What that would look like would be a church that is either growing or it's small, and there's like one person that works there.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be a paid position, or if it does pay, it's very little.
Yeah.
But that would be cool to start something new, and it's hard, but I think you could find it very fulfilling.
Yeah, like it's either start from scratch. Like I would want to either start from scratch, or like if it comes to it, come back here. Like I think think that'd be a cool thing.
Like come full circle and become the youth pastor here.
Full youth pastor. Like,
hey, you never know, man.
and that's what I'm saying. Like I remember hearing replacements like hit me at week 1 of teen camp, so that could mean something. I don't know.
You never know.
And then my other goal for the future is something that I want to leave a legacy. And I don't want it to be where
What do you mean by that?
I don't want it to be where it's my name getting passed down and like a memory of me, but kind of like I kind of want to say like a reincarnation of me, as in I think I
know what you mean.
Like basically show, like I want to show other like people that I'm pouring into, like show the kids that I'm pouring into that it's okay to be completely goofy and completely spontaneous in worship and with other people in church, anywhere really, so that way they can be like basically build up a leader like me so that they can keep going and keep going.
Like you replace yourself with
like replace myself and they can replace themselves and keep going and going and going.
Not literal reincarnation. Like
I don't mean like a literal reincarnation.
Come back as a bee or something.
I don't mean to come back at all. I mean like make myself again. Kind of.
Yeah,
like
you replace
someone.
Yeah,
to
you replace
me.
yourself. Yes.
So basically, either two goals.
You inspire people to serve the role that you're serving here whenever you're gone,
and to be a servant leader as well. Yeah,
those are 2 awesome goals, and I think that your heart's definitely in the right place. And not only is your heart in the right place, but your head's in the right place, because those are 2 very important things. Because you always hear, like, whenever you hear the phrase "your heart's in the right place" about somebody, or their heart was in the right place, like they meant well, but they did something stupid. No, I think not only do you mean well, but you're taking the things that you're wanting to do by meaning well, and you're doing them in a correct and wise way. And I'm excited to see where you go with your life.
I'm excited too. A little scared, but I'm also very excited.
That never changes. I mean, heck, I've been out of college for 3 years now, and it's been piece by piece me figuring out the life that I want to live. College was definitely needed, but it wasn't the end all be all. But I'm also happy to say that college wasn't where I peaked. I love the person that I am now and the things that I get to do now and the people I get to do them with. I love both serving as a youth leader here and being a friend and a family member to the people here, while also creating media and telling stories. And I'm excited to see that you have found the thing that is your thing, and you're not waiting to do them. You're doing them now. And because you're doing that, that's just going to set you up for success. And when I say success, I don't mean necessarily, 1,000 kids in your youth group or millions of dollars coming into your bank account, but you will, when I say success, I mean you'll have a fulfilling life where you're doing exactly what you're called to do, and you will make a difference for the kingdom, whether it's millions of people or just 12 people. Well, thank you for being my second guest on my podcast. It went from my mom to you, so be honored. All right, thanks, dude.
Thank you.